So I'm going to continue. Sorry I had to pause. I was running out of my 10 minutes per video apparently. So let's continue. The endoplasmic reticulum is made up, well, has two different kinds, if you will. You'll notice there is the rough ER and the smooth ER. And the main difference between these two is that the rough ER has the ribosomes attached. Smooth, or the SER, does not have any ribosomes attached at all. So it's kind of divided like that, if you will. So you'll notice, though, that, you'll notice that they both have different functions. So the rough ER, with the ribosomes on it, it helps transport proteins that are made by those particular ribosomes. The ribosomes make proteins, and these you can say they're contained within something called a vesicle. A vesicle is a membrane-bound sac, and that helps transport substances within the cell. Comparing that, or contrasting it, with the smooth ER, where there's no ribosomes attached, it helps make lipids and breaks down toxic substances. If I'm comparing these two, most likely I'm probably going to ask you questions regarding this, so please keep this in mind, okay? The Golgi apparatus. So this is a section, if you will, of the cell that modifies proteins before they leave. Some vesicles from the rough ER go to the Golgi to get modified, and from here then proteins are packaged into new vesicles. Sometimes they move outside the cell, or move to the cell membrane, and others may remain inside the cell too. So this modifies proteins. You can say the rough ER helps you can say maybe package them a little bit, and the smooth ER does something else completely different. So from the Golgi apparatus comes lysosome. A lysosome is a type of organelle that actually contains enzymes for something called phagocytosis. If you notice, it's actually not that very big. It's only 1 micrometer. Again, micro means small, right? So it means that these little organelles are responsible for a lot of things. And as long as they're functioning normally, you don't even notice them. The problem is, though, is that if you have any deficiency, meaning you don't have normal functioning lysosomes, you can get different diseases. The first one is called Tay-Sachs disease. As you can see, it's a buildup of lipids that one of the macromolecules in the brain, it causes impairment. It can cause weak tone in a baby. It can be floppy, very weak, and even blind. And this it appears right around within a year of being born. And unfortunately, these babies die very young, around 3 to 5 years old, usually because of pneumonia, which is a really bad lung infection. The other one is Pompe disease, and this is due to glycogen breakdown being impaired in the liver. So thinking kind of not related, it's a little related to Tay-Sachs because it's the same type of deficiency, but it's in a different place and something else is not being able to be broken down. So with Pompe disease, it's kind of similar because it causes a lot of muscle weakness to the point where there's a lot of moving problems, and there's also a lot of breathing problems as well. So the mitochondria, unfortunately, the one thing, it's the powerhouse of the cell. Well, too bad. That's not what I'm looking for right now. So what it does, it takes energy from compounds to make ATP. So I hope you remember what macromolecules or organic compounds would be used to make ATP, which means they get energy from it. So that would be, hopefully you remember, carbohydrates, as well as lipids, because lipids store energy. So the mitochondria, you kind of notice in this diagram right here, it contains 2 different layers. And the idea is that if it's going to make energy, it wants to be efficient. So to be efficient, what it actually does, it has two layers, and having two layers of like two membranes, an inner and an outer membrane, actually increases surface area for for that one mitochondrion, and that means it's going to be more efficient. Mitochondria actually has its own DNA, which contains its own ribosomes. The DNA is circular, so that means it's similar to prokaryotes, and we will talk about later on in the school year why this is important to keep in mind. So, mitochondria has its own DNA and it's circular. It contains two layers to increase surface area to be more functional and efficient, and it harvests energy from carbohydrates and lipids. Centrioles, what they do is that they actually aid in chromosomal division, and they're found in the cytoplasm. So this means that they are part of the, you can say they are part of what makes a cell able to divide in mitosis, which we'll talk about later on the school year. Ouch, mitosis, because your sister stepped on your toe. Ha 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 ha. So the last organelle we're going to talk about is a peroxisome, or the peroxisome, which is kind of like the lysosome because they both contain enzymes. Peroxisomes contain oxidative enzymes, which means they require, kind of by the name, they require oxygen. Lysosomes contain hydrolytic enzymes. So peroxisomes, they help break down fatty acids, and they also break down alcohol as well. Okay, very good. So that is the end for now, at least for the parts of the cell. Make sure you complete your graphic organizers and submit it onto Google Classroom. And then when you come into class, we will talk about this in a little more detail, and we'll have an activity or two related to this. Thanks, guys.